Welcome to another episode of Strange Planet and part 2 of my conversation with Jonathan Cahn. Jonathan is known for his uncovering of ancient mysteries and revealing their often startling significance to our day and age. Jonathan's teachings and messages are broadcast daily throughout the United States and the world. He is spiritual leader of the Jerusalem Center in Wayne, New Jersey. He is the author of The Harbinger, The Mystery of the Shemitah, The Book of Mysteries, The Paradigm, The Oracle, The Harbinger 2, The Return, and his latest is The Return of the Gods. Enjoy. And welcome to Strange Planet. Jonathan Cahn stays with us. He caused, of course, a worldwide stir with the release of his explosive first book, The Harbinger. That book became an instant New York Times bestseller, brought him to national, international prominence. His next books were all New York Times bestsellers as well. The Mystery of the Shemitah, The Book of Mysteries, The Paradigm, The Oracle, The Harbinger 2, The Return. He was named, along with Billy Graham, as one of the top 40 spiritual leaders of the last 40 years to have radically impacted the world. His brand new book is The Return of the Gods. And in part 1, well, we left off, we were talking about the Dark Trinity, and we were talking about the Possessor, the Destroyer, and then the Enchantress. And the Enchantress is Isis, Aphrodite, goes by many different names.
Many names, yeah.
Okay, so then that led us into a discussion about how she has transformed women. Women now want to become more masculine. They want to be the big lie of the radical feminist movement is that women are the same as men. We can replace men. We don't need men. Men that have been emasculated. They've been encouraged to become, find your inner feminine side. And now we see men, walking around with and their hair up in buns and cross-dressing and it's completely obliterated the lines. Now, of course, we have the radical transgender movement. So let's see where we're going to go next. The goddess, she had this mysterious priesthood. What does it have to do with what's taking place now in our culture, this priesthood?
Yeah, and I have to say something, Richard. I'm listening to the introduction of the show, which I love, but everything it says is what we are saying right now today, uncovering the machinations behind everything, and that it doesn't look well. That's exactly what this is, and it's real. It's real, and actually, the Bible said it. It's interesting, but most people never apply it, but it's real. Well, the goddess, and by the way, and you were saying this thing. It's interesting how clear this is, because in the ancient pagan world, the line in many of these cultures, in many of them, the lines between male and female were blurred, and it was the gospel that. So is it an accident? Like now that we've turned away from God, look what's happening. And it's interesting because if we had back then, like when we saw the culture start taking God out, just little by little, little things. If we had known this, we could just like clockwork could have said all this is going to happen because this is where it came from. This is all coming back. It's the coming back. It's the return of the god. So the goddess had a priesthood, and they were called the Asinu and also the Kalu. These were names for her priests. The Gala. They would walk around in her temple. They were men who dressed up as women in her temple, and they spoke as women. They acted as women. They were the priests of the goddess. They were the high priests of the goddess. And so actually it says, and you alluded to it, but actually says in her tablets, in her inscriptions, it says she adorns men. She dresses men as women. She dresses women as men. So what you're going to see now, if the goddess returns, if the spirit comes back, if the West turns away from God, you're going to see this movement of androgyny. She is the god of androgyny, and she is the god who confuses the two, and she's the god who changes one for the other. And so, if her priests were basically today we'd call them cross dressers or transvestites. Well, today, what's happening with our culture? Our culture now, this is moving back into the mainstream. Well, that's a sign, because that was in the temples of the pagan ancient world. It was the gospel why those things ended. So now we turn away from God. It's a sign, if they're coming back, it's like her priesthood is coming back, and it's a sign that the goddess is coming back. Now, for the first time after 2,000 years, it is entering the mainstream again. And so she is not only that, but you alluded to this, and that is that, but the gods are after the children. That is what they are seeking for. Because if you get the children, you have the culture. You get the children are much more malleable. They're very easy to bend, to change. So if that's where you're going to have your change. And that's exactly what has been happening in our culture. The focal point is the children. You know that children, if you take this new generation, Generation Z, and you take it, take the older part, not the younger is even more so, but 18 to 20 to like 30, 28, Generation Z, about the numbers that will say I'm not even male or female, or it's about over 20% of them now. I mean, that's mind-boggling, and that's only going to go up. But that has to do with this, and so it's confusing the children. It's confusing everything. So but think about this. I mean, we're bringing children to libraries. By the way, as a Christian, say we pray for it. We're all in the same boat. But we have to speak about what's happening. And again, even liberals are saying this is craziness. But we're bringing children to libraries to be read stories from men dressed up as women. That's craziness.
What's even crazier than that, Jonathan, now parents are taking, during these Pride events, they are taking their children into nightclubs, bars, where there are drag queen strip shows, and they are encouraging the children, to stuff a dollar bill into the G-string of a drag queen, and they're applauding it. And now, of course, we have young people being placed on puberty blockers and cross hormones, getting
that's all
young
part of it.
girls given double mastectomies, hysterectomies. Then, of course, they reach the age of 30 and they regret
and have children.
Happened, and it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
You're going to have a generation lost.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's amazing. It's amazing how many, if I could count the times that people, Christian and secular, have described what you just said as demonic, and it is. And this is, think about this too. Remember, Jesus said that when they come back worse. Now, so now, back then, the goddess, this was confined to her priesthood, but now is seeking an entire generation. That's how it's worse. And this goes also into end time prophecy, because the Bible speaks about how people will be at the end. Well, we're setting the stage for it. Now the love of many will go cold. It won't be without natural affection and all those things. We have to pray for these people. But now the other thing is, I want to show you what you just mentioned something. And that is this, the goddess not only had men dressed as women and women dressed as men, but remember, it says, I turn a man into a woman, I turn a woman into a man. Now, take that literally, that means physical turn, one way or the other. The goddess herself, she was, as I said, she says, I am a woman, but then she says, I am a man. So there's a transition. She's the goddess of transition, or transitioning. She had an assistant. The assistant was called Ninshubar, this ancient Middle Eastern thing, who went back and forth between being male and female. This goddess not only had her priests dress up as the opposite sex, but she actually had them surgically transitioned. They were surgically transitioned. One of the ancient inscriptions I found says that she impresses on female parts on male parts. I mean, just craziness. And so literally, not only they were surgically transitioned, it affected their hormones. It was hormonal as well. And so back then, there's actually a description in one of the hymns that talk about those who have been altered by her, and they're dancing in front of her, these men, and they're dancing with scalpels, almost like it seems like they're celebrating their transition. So this is crazy. So now that we're doing this to children, and you would say that what would possess an adult to do this to a child. I mean, isn't there common sense that you don't do this, that there's something really wrong about this, and then hiding it from parents and scarring them for life, changing them for life? But this is a sign of the deeper stage of possession of a culture. This did not happen in the 60s because it couldn't happen then. I mean, where it's spreading to the whole culture. But this is what happens when the gods go step by step by step by step.
The Return of the Gods. And
Yeah.
Jonathan Cahn is with us, and the book is just out, and it's available everywhere, and of course online
Like
at
this.
Amazon.com. There it is, The Return
It's like
of the
this.
Gods. And it reveals this ancient mystery that exploded onto the streets of New York City. It transformed America and world culture, really. What was it?
Totally. It has transformed world culture in such a way that it almost, when you look at how it's spread, it would seem almost, even to someone who's not a believer, supernatural, crazy. But it all started, like many things. Interesting. We talked about the bull, and where was that? New York City. What led American abortion, particularly New York? New York. New York is like a gate. Is a gate. And so this other thing started in New York. And what was it that started in New York? The whole movement, and again, and as a believer, again, we're all in the same boat. We pray for everybody. We're all in the same boat. Sinner is, we all have to have our sins forgiven, and we have to pray for everyone on every side of the issue. But we have to reveal this for everybody's sake. Well, this whole movement that of altering gender, altering sexuality, or sometimes it's called pride. When did it begin? It began in New York City. It began in the summer of 1969. And it's well, it's well linked. I mean, it's all what we see today is a celebration of what happened then. What happened then? It was called the Stonewall Riots,
Right.
and basically, in a nutshell, people know the story. It's a same-sex bar, and the police came to raid it. They rebelled. The police went into the bar to retreat. They went after them. They tried to break down the doors of the bar, get in. Anyway, crazy. Started the Stonewall Riots, and that started everything. The parades are from there. Every parade of pride is from there. You just mentioned is from there. So, but the amazing thing that I found was when I looked at the night of Stonewall, it was amazing because all these ancient signs of the goddesses reappearing appear in Stonewall. I mean, amazingly so. And we can only I'll be able to give a taste of some of that. We can give a taste of that, but it's amazing.
All right. So does that have anything to do with the mystery of Eshtam?
Oh, yes, it does. And yes, the Eshtam, it said that Ishtar, the goddess, always dwells in the Eshtam. That's her place. It's like her temple. And that's where she works. What is the Eshtam? The Eshtam is, we alluded to it, is a tavern. It's an alehouse. It's a bar. Where did this all begin? It began in an Eshtam, began in a bar. Stonewall was a bar. This whole thing began, and this is the place of the goddess. So in fact, one of the ancient hymns says, "O harlot," or "O prostitute, go down to the Eshtam, go down to the tavern." So on that night, in a sense, the spirit of Ishtar goes down to the Eshtam, the alehouse.
Wow. What about the mystery of the lion's head?
The lion's head is that when the goddess goes to war, and this is in a sense is a war. It's going to be a culture war. She rides a lion into it. The lion's head is the sign of her authority. She puts her feet on the head of the lion. The first thing you see would be the lion's head. Amazing thing because with Stonewall, just before the Stonewall Inn opened up, and it was not long before all this happened. It opened up a year or the year before it. Another bar opens up. It's called the Lion's Head. So it's like the preparation. The first sign was the lion's head, and all this happened under the lion's head as well. Let me, anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, is there a further mystery behind behind the name that sort of
Yes.
behind the movement?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Stonewall, they tried to, again, break into that bar called Stonewall. There is an ancient inscription, actually, it's in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and a famous thing where it talks about the goddess, and it says, "You are the one who," and I'm paraphrasing, but you're the one who breaks the stone wall. breaks the stone wall.
Yeah.
Literally, it is stone wall. She's the one, and they tried to break the stone wall. And literally, and you take it spiritually, what was happening is they were breaking the wall of Western civilization that had lasted for 2,000 years regarding surrounding sexuality. So yeah, so even the name, she is linked to that. She goes into a rage because she's accused of being the one who breaks the stone wall.
You in The Return of the Gods, you write about there being an avatar that night. Tell us, what do you mean?
Yeah. An avatar is in a sense an embodiment of a god, and so I'm saying it in this way, is that, remember, the goddess had masculine attributes. She's a fighter. She's the god of war. On that night of Stonewall, there was one person who triggered the whole thing. What happened was the police were arresting this one woman, and the woman tells the crowd, "Why aren't you doing something?" At that moment, they all like everything changes. It's almost like a spirit possesses them. A frenzy happens that becomes dangerous for the police. They go, but the whole thing started when this woman triggered it. Now, who was that woman? Well, the woman is described as a woman who had masculine attributes. She's resembling the goddess. She actually was a fighter. She was actually I won't go into the whole thing, but she's actually was worked at fighting. But also the thing is that the goddess was given the name Storm. The goddess said, "You are the loud, thundering storm. You're the one who causes the storm. You are the storm." The woman's name was Storme, or Storm, and she started the entire movement.
Wow. Wow. What is the dance of the goddess?
When the goddess would war and bring destruction, it says that there would be it was the dance of the goddess. She would dance and there'd be destruction. In the middle of the riot, those who were involved in the riot, or a segment of them, all of a sudden they start breaking out into a dance. And as they break into the dance, and they're dancing and they're chanting words that go back, that link up to the goddess, without knowing what they're doing, and without knowing, the goddess also had female priests. And they could be prostitutes, and they were called, one particular one was called the Kezaru. And the Kezaru were priests of the goddess who danced and sang. Now the men there are dancing, and they say, "We are the Stonewall girls. They're dancing as girls." But the Kezaru are called Kezaru because Kezaru means the ones who wear their hair in curls. They wear their hair in curls. They start singing, "We are the Stonewall girls. We wear our hair in curls." The Kezaru. They have no idea what they're doing, but it all goes back to the goddess.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to listen to the rest of this conversation, subscribe to my podcast, Richard Syrett's Strange Planet, available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support my work, think about becoming a premium subscriber. You get to listen to commercial-free episodes. You'll receive my free monthly newsletter, discounts on Strange Planet merchandise, and even an exclusive monthly Q&A with me over Zoom. For the premium subscription, go to strangeplanet.supportingcast.fm, strangeplanet.supportingcast.fm. All the links are in the description below this video. Don't forget about Throwback Thursday on this channel, when I dive deep into the audio archives and replay an old episode of my former late-night radio program. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.